Hello, and welcome to the third episode of Talkin Tigers with Auburn TFC. I'm Chandler from Auburn TFC, and good morning. It's a little earlier than I know. It's a good bit earlier than I normally record. I had some things to do today, so thought I'd opt for an earlier stream time. I see I see Chris is in the chat. Let's go, man. Good to see you. Good morning. Hope you're having a good day so far. Hope you have a good rest of your day. And let's get started. So today is actually the first installment of something that I've been wanting to do, or that I figured out, or figured up last night. Is called Merch Monday. Is where every Monday I'm gonna show a piece of Auburn merchandise, or just Auburn memorabilia that I love and that I have a story behind, and show it and tell the story behind it. So let's do it. So for the first day of Merch Monday, I have this. I have this inside the Auburn Tigers magazine. If, as you can see, it's a issue from the Morehead State exhibition basketball game that we had in, I want to say, 2022. And the cool thing about this is on the cover is a Morehead State player by the name of Janai Broom. For people that don't remember, Janai Broom was a Morehead State player before he was at Auburn. And the way that we kind of discovered him was through that exhibition game where he had like 20 points something, and Bruce kept his eye on him for the rest of the season and brought him on. So the cool story behind that I found this was, I don't remember at all where I found it, where I got it. Yeah, December 2021. I don't remember where I got it. I don't remember what game I got it. I don't know what basketball game, how I got it. I really don't know. And so I was seriously just looking through my closet, cleaning some stuff out, and I come across this and a program from a game from the same season. And I'll probably have to find that program so I can figure out what game it was. But I looked at it, and, I wasn't really paying attention to the cover. I was just looking through the pages and just reading up, remembering what sports was like then. And I look at the cover, and I'm like, it's kind of hiding his face behind the S. I have posted about it before, but there you go. It's kind of hiding his face. So, but yeah, that's Janai. And I was just looking at it, like, what? Who is that? And you see his braids, you see his face a little bit, and then I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So as soon as I figured it out, I took a picture of it, posted it on Twitter, um, on my Wardang Sports account. I just said, like, "Oh, who's that trying to block Wendell?" And I got like 250 likes, so that was really cool. And now I keep this um, in my room. I keep it on a shelf, propped up, so I can see it. And I just think it's really cool. I think that's really neat. And that's really all. First installment of Merch Monday. So I'm doing a shorter episode today, so there's less pressure on me, and so I can get this uploaded before I have to go do some things. Well, today I just wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the things that we're going to be looking at during this coming basketball season. I've talked a lot about football. I've talked a lot about SEC football in general. So I thought I wanted to move it to the basketball side of things. Well, today I'm really just want to start off with like the biggest thing that is going to come from the season, or that's going to matter this season, is how Tahad Pettiford and Kevin Overton do. One of the best returning guard duos in the country is Tahad Pettiford and Kevin Overton. And, there's an interview that Stephen Pearl did for Sports Illustrated saying that you could kind of see Tahad and KO trying to grasp onto the leadership role that they've been pushing on them this summer. And he said that I think they're trying to lead, which has been encouraging. I think our guys respect them. Those guys understand what we're doing. I see a different level of maturity up to this point for those two, which is something I would like for them to continue to build off of. Which is it seems like just yesterday Tahad was coming off the bench his freshman year, hitting 5 threes against Houston. Or like it just doesn't feel real that it's already his junior year, but it is. And this is a year where we really expected him to take a leap last year, but he didn't. Pettiford's coming off of a kind of disappointing season. He did average 15 points, but it was on terrible efficiency. You're in the 25%, and from the 3-point line, and 39% from the field. And he definitely did better in his trying to be a facilitator, and he did his role well, but everyone knows there's another level. Everyone knows that Tahad can do much better. I think Tahad's ceiling is in like the 22 points per game on obviously much better efficiency. So hopefully he's not chucking up 20 something shots a game or like 18 shots a game to get there, and then like have like 5 or more assists and just spreading the ball. And with this team that's coming on, there's a lot of last year, Steven's kind of playing with Bruce's players, whereas this year, this is all Steven. These are all players that Steven's recruited. These are players that Steven has gotten acquainted with and knows how they're going to work. And like he said, he wants to build a team kind of like 2019, a team that could just shoot the lights out and then play great defense. And we'll see if he's gonna try to fulfill that, if he is going to fulfill that. But it's good to see that your main two guards, your starting 1 and 2, there's no doubt that Tahad and Kevin Overton are going to be your starting 1 and 2 guard. And then, everything else is we're going to have to figure that out because they're the only 2 returning players that will, besides Blake Mushalek, who actually got somewhat minutes, So that's what we're going to have. That's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what happens with the development there. And on the Kevin Overton side of things, he's coming off of a season where he blossomed in clutch moments. You have the game-tying shot against Georgia, multiple threes against Tulsa in the NIT championship game. He tied the game coming off of a screen and hit that logo 3 in the first couple minutes of overtime, just to kind of strike fear into opponents, and that's something that I'm going to look for improvement on. Not just his shooting ability, but his ability to come off screens and his adzability to face up with the ball and break people down off the dribble. That's what I'm looking for. We don't need Kevin Overton. We don't need KO just trying to shoot threes. We need him to be multi-dimensional. If he's going to play this 2 spot for us consistently, we want to see the whole package. And he did a great job giving us the whole package this past season, where there's some moments where, did he do some dumb stuff? Yeah. But that was his first year in this under the Stephen Pearl leadership. It was everybody's first year. And, even Tahad, someone who has been there for a year, already being coached a good bit by the Pearls in general, didn't do a whole great job. So, this year, you're coming off of a season where you won 22 games and coming off an NIT championship. I think with the team that you're building right now, with players like, Narcisse Nagoy or Bucky Oboye. These are players that you didn't have last season. You didn't have the size necessary to be successful last season. The only size you really had was Keyshawn Murphy, who quit during the NIT, and um, I forgot his name. Filip Jovic. Since he transferred to UCLA, I haven't heard from him. But Filip Jovic is a 6'9" player who was starting at your 5 pretty much, and so to finally have a good bit of size is great. In like Owen Freeman, he's 6'10", so you're bringing in players that actually have size, and that brings me to my next point: is with players like Narcisse Ngoy and Bucky Oboye in your front court, will your guards be able to put more pressure on defense? Will they be able to, try to get a little bit more scrappy, try to go for some steals, go for some opportunities that wouldn't normally be there if you didn't have rim protectors in your front court? So you're like, I'm thinking that yes, because Steven has one of the better defensive minds in the league of college basketball right now. He's going to take that opportunity. Like, you couldn't play as well as face up defense with Keyshawn Murphy in your paint. And we've reaped the benefits of that last year. We didn't really they weren't benefits, it was detrimental. Our defense wasn't as good as it could have been because we didn't have those rim protectors. Well, now we do. So, you have the offensive players that he's bringing in, and you just hope that it's going to work out. But on the offensive end, but I'm really just looking for the defense. And my favorite part about it is, you have someone like Thomas Dowd. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Is That's probably you're probably looking at your small forward there, and then you have a player like that who's 6'8". He's 225. He has the build necessary to be successful. He's coming off a season where he averaged 14 and 10, and at the small forward, power forward position. And so it's just, and then so you have that with the size that you have now, and then you're bringing in these international players that have experience in pro leagues, and they're just going to bring that great experience into the SEC. The Tigers are set up for a very promising basketball season this year. And I mean, obviously it's way too early to do any kind of schedule predictions or any kind of like predictions, but I see this team winning at least 22 games. Not at most 22 games like this past season, but at least 22, not at most. And I expect to be back in the tournament and maybe even reach somewhere like the round of 32 or Sweet 16. Not a deep run, but I do expect this to be a team that can make a deep run, but will they is the question. You know, and that's the thing that you're going to have to look forward to with this team. The defense is going to be incredibly important because of that size. And so, real quick, speaking of great defense, I'd like to take a moment to thank my sponsor and appreciate Barner Supply. And I say defense because anything that you try to put up against this hat's going to win, because they are durable, they are very comfortable. If you're trying to work outside, they have a nice mesh background. I'm not wearing mine right now because I just didn't feel like wearing a hat today. But the thing that I really struggle with a lot of hats is I don't like wearing hats with headphones a whole lot because the button on top is just really uncomfortable, and it like messes with the top of my headphones. Whereas this one, sits perfectly on my head, and it's comfortable with headphones. Like, I have no issue having this on my head, and I have no issue with pain, no issue with uncomfortability. And the thing is, the size of these hats are great because, I have a really big head. So most of the hats that I own, I have to put to the last notch, and they're not staying on my head a whole lot. This one is on the third notch. Third notch, I'm going to be able to have this hat for a long time, and you are too. You're going to be able to have this hat for a long time because it's durable, the size is great, and it's all around a very comfortable and stylish hat. So go to barnsupply.com for all your for all your barn apparel needs, and yeah, tell them that I sent you. So just to finish up on today's episode of Talking Tigers with Auburn TFC, I wanted to touch on one last thing with the basketball scene, and something that has been underrated lately, but in all around Auburn sports, is there hasn't been a whole lot of team connection like last year. You have completely honest, you have some animosity with players like Keyshawn Murphy, who left during the NIT, or people like Keyshawn Hall, who was selfish from time to time, and then you have the airplane accident from 2 years ago. It's kind of seemed that players on our teams nowadays have had the best connection for some parts. Not saying that is the complete truth, because you have great chemistry between players like Denver Jones and Janai Broom, Tahad Pettiford, with anybody. I haven't been able to see someone who doesn't like Tahad. But in that interview that I mentioned with Sports Illustrated, Stephen Pearl said that the camaraderie talked about the camaraderie between the players this year, saying that this is the most connected team that we've had in a while. Some of the best teams we have ever had have been player-led teams. And you think about that, like what was a player-led team look like? 2019. I mean, the whole promotion that they did going into the Elite Eight and Final Four was for Chuma. That was the tagline. They weren't. We're not worried about an upset. We're not worried about, we think we can win a national championship. We're worried about supporting our teammate, our brother, who is now injured for the rest of the season and won't be able to play. The next time he was able to play was when he got drafted to the Orlando Magic, and he played the next NBA season. However, he wasn't able to finish on the top with his players, with his brothers. That I frankly think that if we had Chuma, I think we easily win the Virginia game and beat Texas Tech. So, there has to be a lot of emotion there. And since then, we've had some teams that have been good, but they weren't great. And I think that's because some of the things going on within. Because you have like the Flanagans, who all moved to the coach, and Alan Flanagan and his father, who moved to Ole Miss. And then you have, your playing incident last year. You have some problems with selfishness that are evident. And you're just looking for a basketball team that plays together and plays for each other. And, that's kind of something I've been touching on with football lately. And so right now, it's good to see that that is something that he wasn't asked a question about, how are the guys this year. He talked about it openly because it means something to this program. It means a lot because player-led teams win games. Good teams are led by coaches. Great teams are led by players. It's something that I have been told ever since I've done athletics, and I'm a Division III athlete. I have been told from time and time again that good teams are led by coaches, great teams are led by players. And so, hopefully, with what we're hearing, the much improved offensive ability of this team and the obviously much improved defensive ability of this team will be supported by a team that is there playing together. And so with that I'm just going to wrap up episode 3 of Talking Tigers with Auburn TFC. I really appreciate Barn Supply for sponsoring me and the channel. Go to barnsupply.com and check out their stuff. They're almost sold out on a lot of their things, and I'll be getting some more stuff soon, and I'm really excited because I love their products. And I love this stream. I love this channel, and I love doing what I do right now. So y'all have a great rest of your day. God bless, and War Damn TFC.